All right, everybody, let's gear up for today's deep dive. We're going to tackle motorcycle helmets. We've got a ton of articles and specs, and we're going to break it all down so you can find the perfect helmet for you.
Yeah. Choosing the right helmet is so important.
Right.
Whether you're a seasoned rider or just starting out, it's all about safety and style.
Exactly. Our main source today is this article, A Complete Guide to Motorcycle Helmet Types. Find the best fit for your ride. It breaks down all the different types, and get this, there are 5 main categories. Each one's designed for a specific riding experience.
It's amazing how helmet technology has come such a long way.
Yeah.
We've gone from basic protection to helmets with Bluetooth and all sorts of fancy features.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So let's jump right in with the classic, the full-face helmet. This article mentions brands like Araishui Bell, the heavy hitters.
Yeah.
But I've always wondered, what's the deal with this DOT certification? I see it everywhere when I'm looking at helmets.
DOT certification basically means that the helmet meets the safety standards set by the U.S. Department of Transportation. It's like a seal of approval that says, hey, this helmet's been rigorously tested. It's got to pass impact absorption tests, penetration resistance, strap strength, the whole 9 yards.
So it's like a baseline level of safety.
Got it.
And you know what else I see a lot? ECE and SNELL certifications. What's the difference between all these?
Good question. So DOT is the standard here in the U.S. AC is the European standard. And SNELL, it's a private nonprofit organization in the U.S. They have even stricter standards than DOT.
So for riders who are really serious about safety, SNELL is the way to go. Huh. Okay. Back to full-face helmets. The article talks about how they offer the best protection, especially with that chin bar. I'm all about safety. But let's be real, sometimes those full-face helmets can get a little stuffy, especially during those hot summer rides. Have you ever run into that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. But, manufacturers are always trying to improve ventilation. You got to look for helmets that have strategically placed vents, so you get airflow without compromising protection. And some helmets even have adjustable vents, so you can customize the airflow depending on the weather.
That makes sense. Oh, and speaking of full-face helmets, I saw this ad in the article for a dual-visor flip-up modular helmet. And get this, it's under $100. Plus, it's DOT approved, so safety's covered. And it has that flip-up feature, so you can get some fresh air when you're stopped without taking the whole helmet off. Pretty cool.
Right. Yeah, those modular helmets are a game changer. You get the full face protection when you need it, but you can also flip up the chin bar for better ventilation, or just to chat with someone without taking the helmet off. Super convenient.
Totally. Now, this article also talks about carbon fiber as a popular material for high-end helmets. Have you ever ridden with a carbon fiber helmet?
I have. I actually tried one at a motorcycle show a while back, and wow, I was blown away by how light it was. It felt like I was wearing nothing.
Seriously, that light. Is there a trade-off, though, when it comes to safety, if you go with a lighter material?
That's a common misconception. People think lighter means weaker. But actually, carbon fiber is incredibly strong. It's even better at absorbing impact than some heavier materials because of the way it flexes on impact. It helps dissipate energy, so less force is transferred to your head. Of course, you pay a premium for that advanced technology, but a lot of riders say it's worth it, especially for those long hauls, when fatigue becomes a factor.
So carbon fiber, it's like the superhero of helmet materials, strong and light.
Got it. Yeah.
So the article also mentions open-face helmets. They seem to be pretty popular for riding around town. They talk about brands like Bell, HJC, Daytona. What do you think draws people to the open-face style? Is it all about that classic biker look?
It's definitely part of it, that old school cool vibe. But open face helmets also offer better ventilation than full face helmets and a wider field of vision. You get that feeling of freedom. You're more connected to your surroundings.
Yeah.
But you got to weigh the risks and benefits. They're great for cruising around town at lower speeds, but they don't offer the same level of protection as a full face, especially for your chin and jaw.
Yeah, safety first for sure. But okay, check this out. There's this vintage carbon fiber open face helmet advertised in the article, glossy black finish, under $80. It's like calling my name. Those Sunday morning rides.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's all about finding the right balance between what you need, how you ride, and style.
Right.
Definitely matters. But even with open face helmets,
Yeah.
you got to make sure it's DOT certified. That's the bare minimum for basic safety.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about a helmet style that seems to be gaining a lot of traction these days. Modular helmets. They're kind of like the Transformers of the helmet world with that flip-up chin bar. The article mentions Schuberth, Nolan, Shark, some big names. What's the hype about these shape-shifting helmets? Why are they so popular?
I think it's the versatility. You can switch between full face and open face mode, depending on what you're doing. If you're on the highway, you can keep the chin bar down for max protection. But then when you stop for gas or to chat with your buddies, you can flip it up, get some air, easy conversation.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And hold up, This article is advertising a Bluetooth-enabled modular helmet. It has an inner visor for day and night riding, a 50% discount, which brings it under $80. And it's packed with high-tech features. You can take calls, listen to music, even use GPS navigation, all while staying safe on the road. Is this the future of helmets?
It's definitely a growing trend. Bluetooth is all about convenience and staying connected, but it's important to be mindful of the downsides too. Some riders worry about distractions, and then there's battery life, especially on those long rides.
Yeah, I can see that being an issue. You got to use those features responsibly and safely. All right,
Hmm.
let's switch gears for a minute and talk about the minimalist option half helmets. The article mentions Harley-Davidson V2 Biltwell, the usual suspects. What's the appeal of going minimal with head protection?
Half helmets, they're all about that classic biker look, that sense of freedom, uninhibited airflow. It can be tempting, especially when it's hot out. But let's be honest, they provide the least amount of protection compared to other helmet types.
So maybe not the best choice for high-speed riding or busy city streets, got it. But this lunatic lightweight German-style half helmet in the article is calling my name DOT approved under $35. And it has that cool minimalist vibe. I'm thinking those chill rides along scenic routes. No crazy traffic.
Sounds perfect for that. And it's great that you're thinking about different helmets for different riding scenarios.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. And hey, even with half helmets, DOT certification is a must. It's the minimum you should do for some level of protection.
For sure. Okay, let's talk about the bad boys of the helmet world. Dirt bike helmets. They're built tough for off-road adventures, and the article mentions Fox Racing AGV Alpine Stars. What sets dirt bike helmets apart from the rest?
Dirt bike helmets are in a league of their own. They're designed for the unique demands of off-road riding. You know, they offer special protection for jumps, rough terrain impacts from branches and stuff. They prioritize ventilation to keep you cool and comfortable during those intense rides. And they often have a peak or visor to shield your eyes from the sun and all that flying debris.
This D343 off-road helmet caught my eye. It's advertised in the article. It has face and eye protection, a quick release feature for emergencies, and it's under $55. Seems like a steal for those weekend warriors who like to get a little muddy.
Definitely a good find. And just a heads up, while some dirt bike helmets are DOT certified for street use, a lot of them aren't. So if you're planning on riding on the road, double check that certification. You'll want to make sure your helmet is legal and safe for the street.
Good point. Safety first, always.
Right.
Right. This article has this awesome comparison table that breaks down the advantages and drawbacks of each helmet type.
It's super helpful, It lets riders quickly see the pros and cons of each type. It helps you figure out what's most important for your riding style and needs. Like, for example, it points out that full-face helmets offer the highest level of protection, but they can be heavier and warmer. Open-face helmets are light and breezy, but less protection, and so on.
Makes perfect sense. Okay. Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's check out the FAQ section in this article. They cover a bunch of common questions that new riders might have about helmets.
Yeah, it's a great resource for answering those basic questions about helmets for beginners, the comfort of full-face helmets, and even things like, can you use a dirt bike helmet on the street? Which is important because, as we said, not all dirt bike helmets are DOT certified.
Right. Safety always comes first. Make sure your helmet meets the standards for how you're going to use it. So we've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about the 5 main types of motorcycle helmets, the importance of DOT certification, and even some cool features like Bluetooth integration and fancy materials like carbon fiber. What are you thinking so far? What's standing out to you as we dive deeper into this world of helmets?
Man, I'm kind of overwhelmed by all the options,
Yeah.
but in a good way.
Mm.
There's just so much to consider. Safety, comfort, style, features, price. It's like choosing a helmet is a journey in itself. What about you? Are you leaning towards any particular type of helmet based on what we've talked about?
Well, it's definitely a lot to take in, but that's what makes it so interesting. Choosing a helmet, it's a big decision. It's about your safety and comfort. It's worth taking the time to really explore all the options. For me, I gotta say, I'm really intrigued by those modular helmets. They seem like a good balance between protection and convenience. But hey, maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's take a breath and see what else we uncover as we continue our deep dive. You know what else I've been thinking about? We haven't talked much about visors, and they're a pretty important part of any helmet, right? They protect your eyes from wind debris, all those bugs that left a kamikaze into your face.
Oh yeah, those bugs can be brutal. I remember one time I was riding without a visor, total rookie move, and bam, a bee flew right in my eye. It was
Right.
not a good time.
Ouch. Yeah, I bet. So what should we be looking for in a good visor? What are the must-haves?
Okay, so the most important thing is clarity. You want a visor that gives you a clear, undistorted view. Look for visors made from scratch-resistant materials that will fog up easily. Some helmets come with anti-fog coatings or pinlock inserts. Those are worth considering if you live somewhere humid or if you ride a lot in cold weather.
Makes sense. What about those tinted visors? For sunny days,
Mhm.
do they offer the same level of protection as clear visors?
Yeah, tinted visors can be super helpful for reducing glare and eye strain when it's sunny out,
Mm.
but you got to make sure they meet the same safety standards as clear visors. Look for visors that block UV rays and have good impact resistance.
Gotcha. This article mentions a modular helmet with a built-in inner visor. It's pretty cool, right? You can switch between day and night riding without having to swap out visors.
Yeah, that's a nice feature, especially for those early morning or evening rides.
Yeah.
When the light's changing, it's super convenient.
Speaking of convenient, we touched on Bluetooth integration earlier. I'm curious about the safety aspect, though. Do you think all those features like taking calls or listening to music can be distracting for riders?
It's a valid concern.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a debate going on in the riding community about how distracting those features can be. Some riders say any distraction, even hands-free, can take your focus off the road. Others say as long as you use those features responsibly and keep it to a minimum, the benefits outweigh the risks.
I guess it comes down to personal preference and knowing your own limits. I know I can get distracted pretty easily, so I'd probably only use Bluetooth for navigation or maybe listening to music at a low volume, especially if I'm riding in tricky conditions.
That's a smart approach.
Yeah.
It's all about being responsible and putting safety first.
All right, let's go back to the different helmet types for a sec. Do you have favorite style or brand? Something that just speaks to you aesthetically. I'm a sucker for those classic retro helmets, like those old school Bell helmets from the 60s and 70s. They have this timeless, cool vibe. It's like wearing a piece of motorcycle history.
I totally get that. There's something really charming about those vintage designs. They take you back to the golden age of motorcycling. But it's interesting to see how far helmet technology has come since then. Those old helmets might have looked cool, but they didn't offer the same level of safety and protection that we have today.
That's so true. We've come a long way in terms of safety and performance. It's amazing to think that something as simple as a helmet can combine style, technology, and protection.
It's the perfect blend of form and function. And that's what makes choosing a helmet so interesting. It's more than just picking a piece of gear. It's about expressing your personality and your riding style.
Okay, so we've talked about the different types of helmets, their features, the history of helmets, but I think it's time to talk about the elephant in the room price.
You're right, price is a big factor for a lot of riders.
Yeah.
Helmets can range from like $50 to over $1,000. It's a huge price range, and it can be overwhelming to navigate.
Especially for new riders who might not know what to look for or what features are worth paying extra for, what advice would you give to someone who's on a budget but still wants a safe and reliable helmet?
Never compromise on safety, even if you're on a tight budget. Look for a DOT-certified helmet. You can find some decent quality helmets from reputable brands for under $100. Don't get sucked in by fancy graphics or unnecessary features if it's going to blow your budget.
That's great advice. Safety first, always. But let's be real. We all want a helmet that looks good, too. Any tips on finding stylish helmets without spending a fortune?
Definitely. A lot of brands offer helmets in different colors and designs at different price points. You can often find good deals on last year's models or helmets that are on clearance. Shop around and compare prices.
Good point. And remember, a helmet is an investment. It's something you'll wear every time you ride. So it's worth spending a little extra if you can afford it. But as you said, safety comes first. No amount of style is worth risking your safety.
Absolutely. It's about finding that sweet spot where safety, style, and budget all line up.
Yeah.
And sometimes, a simple understated helmet can be just as cool as a flashy, expensive one. It's all about personal preference.
You know what? You're right. We've talked a lot about all these different aspects of helmets. But I like how you framed it earlier, choosing a helmet. It's a journey.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's more than just buying something. It's about learning about different technologies, figuring out what you need, and finding a helmet that reflects who you are as a rider.
It's like the helmet becomes part of your story as a rider.
Exactly. And that journey is different for everyone. Some riders know exactly what they want right away. Others take their time, try on a bunch of helmets, and slowly narrow it down.
There's no right or wrong way to do it. The important thing is to be informed, make a choice you feel good about, and pick a helmet that gives you confidence and protection when you're out there riding.
So as we head into the final part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with something to think about. What do you think are some of the trends we're going to see in helmet technology? What kind of innovations are coming down the road?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm excited to see what the future holds for helmets. Maybe we'll see helmets with heads-up displays that project info onto the visor, Or helmets with sensors that can detect crashes and automatically call for help.
Now, that would be game-changing. But for now, let's stick with what we've got and help our listeners find their perfect helmet.
So we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? From full face to open face, modular helmets, half helmets, even dirt bike helmets. We really went there.
Yeah, we talked about safety standards, materials, those cool features, even how to choose a helmet that fits your style, your needs.
Hmm.
It's all connected.
So now it's time to bring it all together. What are the key things our listeners should keep in mind when they're making that final decision? What are the takeaways?
You know what? There's no magic answer. The best helmet. It's different for everyone. It depends on your head, how you ride, what's important to you.
So if I'm just cruising around town on my vintage bike, maybe a DOT-certified open-face helmet would be a good choice. But if I'm going to be on the highway for hours, I'd probably want a full-face helmet with more safety features.
Right, exactly. And then you got those riders who want options.
Yeah.
That's where the modular helmets come in. You can have full face protection and open face freedom all in one.
And let's not forget about the off-roaders. Those dirt bike helmets with all that ventilation and extra protection,
Yeah,
they're essential.
they are. But no matter what type of helmet you choose, there are some things that are always important.
Like what? Fill me in.
Number one, safety always comes first. Always look for that DOT certification sticker. It means the helmet meets the basic safety standards. And if you're really serious about protection, look into helmets that meet Snell or ECE standards.
Okay, so safety is non-negotiable. It's the foundation.
It is. And then number two, fit is super important. The helmet should fit snug but not too tight. It should cover your forehead, sit level on your head, and the chin strap should be snug enough that you can only fit one finger between the strap and your chin.
That makes sense. And I guess it's kind of like buying shoes. You got to try them on first.
Right.
Helmets are the same way. You got to try on a few different ones to find the perfect fit.
Exactly. Everyone's head is different. So what fits one person might not fit another. And lastly, don't be afraid to spend a little money on a good quality helmet. It's an investment in your safety and comfort. A well-made helmet. It'll last for years and protect you every time you ride.
Think of it this way. Your helmet is like your riding buddy. It's there to protect you when you need it most. So choose wisely.
I like that. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of motorcycle helmets, any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
Let's see. Do your research, think about what you need, prioritize safety, and choose a helmet that makes you feel good when you're out there on the road. Right. Ride safe, everyone, and remember your helmet. It's more than just a helmet, it's your riding companion. Until next time.